Hello everyone. Welcome to Salvos Moneycare Money Essentials webinar. My name's Jono. I head up our You're the Boss program, which aims to help people get in control of their money. And every day this week, as part of Anti-Poverty Week, we're hosting a short presentation on topics, really practical topics that help you master your money. Today, we're going to be joined very shortly by Jenny, who's a really experienced financial capability worker all the way from Townsville in Queensland. And she's going to be talking to us about credit tips and traps. And I'm really looking forward to what she's got to share with us. There's a lot of wisdom there. So just a few housekeeping matters before we throw over to Jenny. If you've got any questions about today's topic, we'd love you to get in touch, and you can do that during the webinar by clicking, there's a little Q&A button, a little speech sort of bubble icon up in the top right of your screen. And you can click on that and type in your question and hit send. We might not get to everyone's questions just over this 20 minutes. So if we don't get to yours, you can get in touch with us via email. We'll give you those details at the end. And also just to let you know that we are recording this webinar. So if it's something you'd like to go back to, or if it's something you think your friends and family might benefit from, that link will come out in the coming days. And we're going to send an email out directly after this webinar with the links for the sort of little follow-up material and action plan, and your chance to get a little bit of feedback. But that's all from me. I won't pop in until the end. So I'd love to throw over to Jenny and welcome her. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Jono. Much appreciated. Hey, everyone. Hope you enjoy the session. As Jono said, yes, I'm a financial capability worker for Moneycare Townsville. Reason why I've actually picked the subject of credit tips and traps is I see and I meet with a lot of community members who end up falling into taking out loans with these type of organisations and then struggling to pay those loans back. But also there's sometimes a lack of empathy or sympathy that these organisations give. Some are actually improving because they've had little wraps around the fingers, but overall they market the likes of people to try and encourage them to spend money that they don't have, and then also the way that when you're not able to pay, it creates a domino effect rather than actually helping you overcome the arrears or the overdue amounts that you're struggling to repay back. So if we go to the first one, which is one that's really out in the market there at the moment, which is buy now and pay later. Oh, come on. Yeah, okay. Why have I chosen this one? Most people think, oh, it's a pretty good little system, pay now, buy now, pay later, no interest. Yep, that's fine. But the thing is the amount of money that, you can potentially end up paying in fees and overdue charges if it's not being paid on time. I've met a lot of people who, especially after Christmas or multiple birthdays, haven't actually looked at how much it's going to cost them to pay back on a weekly or fortnightly basis. And then they struggle to try and pay those back, especially if I've got an afterpay with one company and then I go to ZipPay in another retail outlet. It can be quite daunting to try and have the cash to pay that back on a weekly basis. As I said, it's marketed to encourage everyone to spend more money. The other part of it is there's no code of conduct like the banks and other major finance companies. So they don't actually do a double check to make sure that you're able to pay that back. They actually thrive on you not being able to pay on time. So just the last 12 months, ZipPay's profits went up by 87%. And most of that would have been from charging people overdue fees. Same with Afterpay, that was 50% of their turnaround last year. The other part that's concerning is that it's normally linked to your debit cards or your credit cards, automatically taken out. So those payments potentially could be coming out before other things are being paid, like rent and food. Good little system if you have actually done your money plans and you know that you can actually afford to pay them back. But yeah, it's definitely creates domino effects if you're not able to pay it back within those short-term periods that have been agreed to. So yeah, do your research, prepare and plan before you take on the likes of Afterpays and Zip Pays. Next one is interest-free loans. I used to call these the Harvey Norman specials because it was actually Harvey Norman who brought this into play. He, or I should say they, are very good at it. JB Hi-Fi's now adopted it. Quite a few of the retailers, Good Guys, they all utilise this program. And again, it's a good little program if everything is paid back within those interest-free periods. It's when those interest-free periods aren't happening or money's being left outside those interest-free periods that it becomes a concern. It is a marketing concept, but what it actually is, it's a credit card. It is a credit card that gives you 30 months or 60 months or the agreed period of interest-free for that one item, but it still allows you to buy other things on that card. So you can be paying anywhere 24, 28%, just like a credit card, on those additional purchases. The other concern I have is when you actually buy something and it's interest-free, it is pretty much like the statement of a credit card. It only gives you the minimum requirement that needs to be repaid. But if you added all those amounts up to the amount of the goods that you actually bought on that, it can actually end up being short. Because again, the whole way of making money on this is to ensure that some of that value is actually brought over outside that agreed interest-free period, charging you 24%, 28%, pretty much like a credit card. So I suggest if you're actually going to use that and it's a 30-month period, look at having it settled within 25 months. Cut up the card. Don't use it for anything else because it automatically charges an interest. It's as I said, it is a good little system. But if you haven't done the prepping and planning to make sure that you can afford to start repaying and paying for it now, you will find that it will end up causing and costing you a lot of grief if it's not paid within that period. Okay. Have we got any questions on any of these yet, Jono?
Oh, none so far, Jenny. I think you're you're covering it beautifully. So yeah, let's keep going and see. There might be questions that pop up as we go.
Yep. Okay. Rent to buy. This is my least favourite out of all of the processes or the credit type accounts that are out there. I have seen so many where they've made agreements to purchase washing machines, phones. You'd be amazed at what you can actually do on a rent to buy program. Where does it all fall down? Falls down in a lot of areas. One is basically if the goods are stolen or they break down, you still have to pay for that item. You can't, even when you return the item to say, can't afford it anymore, here, have the goods back. Even though it says the rent to buy, there is always a residual even when you hand that fridge or that washing machine back. The payments do not stop. The cost does not stop. So there's pretty much no way out. There's no protection, there's no regulation. What do I mean by that? Again, they don't check to make sure that you can actually afford to pay those goods back. I've actually had quite a few cases where I've actually checked whether the actual community member has actually been able to have a correct assessment done on them, meaning covering that they're able to, their income covers their rent, food, core needs before the likes of allowing one of these accounts to go through, to find out that they didn't have enough money, but they still proceeded with the application. We all know that the banks all went through a banking commission, and you know there was some weaknesses and the like in their application processes and the like. These people, or I should say these type of organisations, are not bound by any code of conduct as what our core banks and the like are. So we've had to take the organisations to task through the Ombudsman, where one client I actually had, she had 4 different rent agreement processes through this. She had a washing machine, then she had a fridge, then she had a phone, then she had to replace the fridge. Still paying off the old fridge, taking on a new fridge. However, her financial circumstances had actually changed quite considerably from the first account to the 4th account, where it was actually highlighted she did not have the money to actually pay 1 account, let alone 4, and it left her with minimal amount to pay the rent and food. Once we actually took her to the Ombudsman, she actually had 3 of those accounts reversed, so there was a reimbursement. Along with that, some of those organisations have actually been taken to court, and one particular has actually had a $29 million fine that they have to repay back, and hopefully some of that money will actually be returned back to the community members that were impacted by the breach that they had in their conduct of doing business. So that was a win for us. So just out of a certain scenario, so people understand what they're in for when they go into this sort of program. Let's just take an average fridge. It's $998. Okay, on average per week, you'd be paying back $37 a week on a 60-month contract. So every 60 months, I should say 60 payments. So 60 payments of $37 a week. It totals $2,224. So when we actually subtract how much the actual original fridge cost, $998, they were paying in excess of $1,336 extra over the top of the fridge. That's without including account keeping fees, overdue fees, and those overdue fees can be quite horrendous. So again, once you actually fall behind, it's really hard to catch up because you're paying the $37 for the amount that you've in arrears, as well as possibly a $45 account keeping fee because you're overdue. So that's $70 you've got to come up with before the next week's due. So it can be quite severe and it can be a domino effect. And again, that's what they rely on. Not so good for you. Okay, so don't ever go near these people. Or if you do and you fall into trouble, that's where the likes of Moneycare come into play, because we're able to help you mediate or advocate with an ombudsman. My last baby, payday lenders. Payday lenders, why do we have them? Their marketing is so easy, the access to cash is so easy, but actually creating a debt to pay a debt it doesn't make sense, because the amount of money that they actually charge. For instance, for a $400 loan over a 4-week period, it's going to cost you possibly $100 up front. So that's $500. Then for every month that account's out, they'll charge you monthly fees, overdue fees. It can end up being up to 48% of the amount that you've actually taken out. So, you know, for that $400, you could be possibly paying back up to $650 for that amount if you struggle to pay that back. So why do we use them? It's normally when I actually talk to some of the community members as to why they use these people. It is, fallen behind in the rent. I need to pay the rent. I need to pay my power. You know, I needed money for food. All I can say is that there is other alternatives out there other than using payday lenders. Talk to the companies that you actually have the debts with already. One, they don't charge interest. They don't charge fees. When I say that, I mean as in relation to power, mobile phones, rent. There's also other areas where you're able to help, that are able to help you. Emergency relief funds will help you in relation to food, will advocate and find services that will help you in relation to rental arrears. There's organisations that are more than happy to help you try and get back on your feet, one being Moneycare, rather than utilising the likes of payday lenders or rent to buy. Any of these systems or these type of loans, there's always an alternative to rather than utilising those services. Okay, so here's just to name a few. No interest loan scheme is a no interest loan scheme. There is nothing attached to it. It is actually run by a non-profit organisation, Good Shepherd, and it's also backed by National Australia Bank. You can take up, you know, up to $1,200, $1,500 to help with emergency type environments, such as when your washing machine or fridge break down. They will help you, and as long as you meet their criteria, because they're not going to give you a loan if you're not able to cover it. But it's a hell of a lot cheaper than going to a cash converters or cash train. Step up loans is just one of many. Step up loan is actually with the National Australia Bank, but I know that the 4 key banks actually have low income loans out there for people that are on low incomes. It's just a case of checking them out. They don't market them, obviously. However, they are there, and they are there to help those that are actually in need. The government also has where we're able to help out in relation to bond loans, to be able to help with rental assistance. Most of the states, Queensland, South Australia, New South Wales, have some type of rental assistance within their programs. If you're on Centrelink, we have Centrelink advances where they're able to help you so you can pay your car registrations and the like. But again, it's better if you're able to plan for it. Can you save for it? Can we put a plan together so that way the next time round you're able to have the money set aside? It's basically, you know, getting that little money plan together. And it's a pretty easy foundation to do. I'm not discarding people's financial distress, especially when urgent situations come about. But at the end of the day, if we're able to set money aside and make some small changes to then be able to cover it for future needs, would that not be better than actually going into, you know, into debt? But we'll see. Okay, key points. What do we need? If anything, all I can say is, do you actually need the loan, or is there a cheaper alternative? Can I save for it? Do I actually need those goods? or is there a cheap alternative out there? If I'm actually going to proceed with it, what's the true cost at the end of the loan? How much is it actually going to cost me? Can I actually pay that back on a regular basis? And the last one is, what is the cost if I can't pay it back on time? Yep, Zip Pay is all great, but when I've got 4 of them and I need to pay $50 per week on 4 of them, that's $200 a week after Christmas. When I've spent all my money, that's a lot of dosh. So the $50 for one purchase might have been okay, but for more, who knows? Create a money plan so you can be confident in paying it back. As I said before, look for your alternatives. And lastly, can I save for it? So those are my little tips. I hope you actually obtain some benefit from it. But if it leaves you still if I haven't answered your questions, more than happy to make contact and work through it with you on a one-on-one based on what your needs and requirements are. So back to you, Jono.
Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, some really great some help, guidance, and I love how you offered some really viable alternatives, because I know so often people, you know, just find themselves stuck in an emergency situation and not sure of the other options that are out there. And I think you really loved how you closed with that real message of hope for people. So, yeah, as Jenny said, if you've got any questions that you didn't get answered today, I mean, it was a really sort of thorough. So much in 20 minutes. Please get in touch with us up in the Q&A little slot now. We're just putting our email address to get in touch with us there. You can also leave some feedback. That'll be fantastic. Just a 2-minute survey. The link will go up there as well. And that's a great way so we can improve, and also to hear, you know, what you took out of today's webinar. So really thank you for joining us. I thank Jenny for her wonderful webinar, and yeah, hope you can join us for the rest of the week. There's some more great webinars to get into this week. So thanks everyone, and hopefully see you at the next one.
Thank you.